Thanks for joining us. I'm Della. This is NTV, Non-Traditional Voices, your podcast program brought to you by Adult Commuter and Transfer Services here at ETSU. And today I've been talking to Natasha. I don't know, I'm kind of clueless about a lot of things,
Right.
About, like I know what I've got my little blinders and my tunnel vision, and I know what I know about this.
Right.
And I think the higher you get in academia, that
the more
isolated you get. And, so that's starting to happen to me, I think, because I've been around it, so long. Because I've done the same thing you were talking about earlier, like coming in and out of, being a student or being a full-time employee and not, taking a semester off. And Sally Mae sends me a bill, and so I'm like, okay, let me go back to school so I don't have to pay this.
Right. For me, it was more like, okay, I'm going to have to work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
No, I'm going back to school first anyway.
Yeah,
I admire people who work at McDonald's. If it weren't for people who work at McDonald's, we would never have good fries.
Right.
I can't do it.
I'm not,
I don't have that kind of industry in my heart, It's just...
Well, I kind of feel like I got early release for time served because my mother owned a little lunch cafe. And it was a really sweet little cute, locally owned and operated neighborhood business.
You did yours.
12
you washed dishes.
years. 12 years. I'm done. Thanks.
My grandmother owns a little restaurant in Kingsport. I so feel you.
Yeah.
All those jokes about washing dishes for your dinner. I've lived them.
Yeah.
It's not funny anymore.
No. So I retired from food service. Done. And, I'll be a thinker and a talker, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just,
Right.
I will find a way to make it happen. I'm there.
I'm definitely there.
And here there's I'm in my third grant writing class now, and nonprofit development.
That's really cool.
Which, I don't know, it's not really a grant. It's like, how do you get money for a nonprofit when you're not writing grants? So it's kind of, it supplements it, right? Yeah. So so I'm kind of setting myself up to run a nonprofit,
Very cool.
and
Very cool.
and the storytelling stuff is just the that's the art, and then the means to getting out the art is through the nonprofit. So I am kind of trying to balance out with something that's storytelling's great, and majoring in a performance art, it almost sometimes you need some sort of practical foundation to go along with it, or else, because I wouldn't even know
what to do with it.
Right.
Short of showing it at Storyteller's Night. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are so many different ways you can go with it, and that's exciting and fun. But it's like you said, you're at the pinnacle of your career, and you're publishing plays and poetry and performing, getting plays in production and things like that. And where do you go from there?
Right.
So, and if you don't have that kind of a background, I think you can probably keep going with that and do more with that,
Yeah.
But you've got that.
Right. Yeah. I started out, I spent a career in the arts.
Mm-hmm.
I came, I essentially every real job I've ever had almost has been for a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for theaters. I worked for theater troupes. I worked for the YMCA of USA.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of came through this whole thing where I worked for churches. Everything I did was in the avenue of improving the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you learn a lot,
mm-hmm.
because when you're in that world, it's very you're very much on yourself to make sure that you're going to have a paycheck next week. And
absolutely,
it's not like working for some big corporation where
they give you
there's a guy in an office who gives you a check.
And you punch the clock.
Right.
Yeah.
In theater, I spent most of my career going, okay, I have X amount of dollars. How can I turn it into X amount of dollars squared so that at the end of this production, I can actually get paid too?
Mm-hmm.
How can I both get this out and eat?
Yeah.
And so, I know what you mean about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it taught me a lot about how audacious you have, how much audacity you have to have in your heart to be published and to be, to have your things put in production, to be produced. At some point, you really have to go, I'm going to look foolish. but I'm going to look foolish and brave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all they can say is no, and they can't take my birthday, and so I'm gonna do this anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And that was kind of that's kind of where it's been for me.
Yeah.
You
just gotta jump.
I fell a few times and realized that you don't die of falling.
Yeah.
And exactly. So now I just jump and go, oh, well, we'll see what happens with
right.
that.
Yeah, because what it is, like you said, it's not like they're going to take your birthday away.
Right. That's,
they
can't take what's you.
I think that's a really good analogy, though, to coming back to school, because you have to really just trust yourself and kind of go with that and have faith that you can do it and just jump.
Yeah, that's exactly where it went. Like I had reached the pinnacle of the career I was in. I was a lighting designer for a regional performance center, and there was nowhere to go from there. Essentially, I don't want to live in New York City,
right?
Not because it's not a beautiful, wonderful place, but because my ties are all here.
Yeah.
Well, I already have an in-house gig. I work for a given theater. I don't have to get on a tour bus with 25 strangers and live in a 4x4 space.
Right.
I'm being paid for my art.
Nice.
I'm not being paid a lot, but I'm being paid.
Mm-hmm.
My immediate supervisor is someone who wants what I want, which is to put on the very best productions for the widest range of people possible. So I've reached the pinnacle of that career. There's nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere I can go without more education.
Mm-hmm.
Because the next place I want to go is to writing or producing, or somehow making even more of an even bigger difference. And then I said, where I want to go is not only do I want to write and produce, but I want to educate other people like me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in the theater, on a regular basis, we would have women my age who came in for whatever reason because we were doing something. And, I would hear them say, I've never been to a live theater show before. Fellow women our age who have never seen a play produced on stage.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to educate so that, I can't wait to take a class of 30 adults. Because I know that out of that 30, 10 will never have been to a live production before, and take them and sit them down in an audience and say,
that cultural exposure.
I don't want you to write about this. I just want you to sit here and
just
watch and take it in and absorb. We'll talk later. Don't make notes. Just learn.
Mm-hmm.
Learn by being.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And so, that's really where I want my education to take me.
Yeah.
So that I can put this whole thing back, I guess.
Yeah.
My mother was in her 40s before she'd ever seen a play.
Wow.
And I mean, one that wasn't one that I was in on a school stage.
Right. Yeah, school.
But
I don't know how school plays count.
A semi-professional production on stage, she had never seen one.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I danced with the ballet until I was 30.
Mm-hmm.
I, still show up every now and then for a community theater project where I can sing and dance and act foolish on stage because I love it.
Yeah.
And now you have children. You know that very often we're trying to stay afloat. We're trying not to fall under the wave of things that need to be done.
Right.
But right now, I feel like I'm really going beyond that. I'm going to London in 4 or 5 weeks.
That's through ETSU's program?
Yes. Yeah. I'm going with the English department to London to study theater.
That's awesome. I've been to the Globe. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
see, that's very cool.
How home is that?
Yeah, that's great.
So things are really going really well, and all because I kind of went, I can do this too.
Yeah.
I can do this. I want to be just like those people who tell me what to do. But I don't want to be one of those people.
You don't want to be bossy like that,
right.
but you want to be in that position.
I want to have the self-security and the education to know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, what I've discovered is I have no idea what to do. But I'm utterly willing to give it a shot.
Right.
Know?
Yeah.
And they told me that when I started my education, they said, back when I was working on my associate's degree, they said, what's going to happen? Because I announced right up front, I want a PhD. Yeah. And everybody laughed. They went, oh, okay, well, talk to us in 10 years,
Yeah.
But they said, what you're going to learn is that 2 or 3 years into your education, you're going to be amazed at how much you know.
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7 years into your education, you're going to be amazed at how much you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I am now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I have so much to share, but I need so much to collect within myself before I have enough. You know, there's so much that I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think that maybe you're never there and you just share a piece at a time as you go. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
And right now I have this ability to write this little play. And so I share that.
Yeah.
And then next week, who knows? Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll have learned something new next week that, that I can move on. But
yeah. I think it was Aristotle, but anyway, somebody said, you got to find the problem that you want to fix.
Right.
And if the problem is so big that you'll never fix it in your lifetime, then you've done well. If it's an easy problem to fix, then
move on.
You need to you need to think bigger. Because, well, one, that's job security,
Right.
And two, you need to kind of fix the big problems.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if you can do it one day, go ahead and do it. And
right, get it done and move on for something.
Your effort.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of how I came to, my career choices.
I came from that background where, in my personal background, there's like this whole abuse thing, that happened. But the problem was not in the abuse. Because I knew in my heart that was wrong and that it couldn't be ignored.
Yeah.
The problem was that I came from a background where I went to people and I said, I'm being abused. And I was told that I should change my behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's how it works generally. And that's not right, but that's what happens.
And so the more educated women are when they're 16 and 17 and 15 and 12 and 9, the less they're going to accept, well, you need to cook dinner better. Or
right. Why don't you just go to your mama's house, honey? He'll cool off in a couple of days.
Right. Have you tried being really sweet?
Yeah, placate and appease because you're a woman and that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, that's why I do women's empowerment because
I'm
that's
really
something.
Glad that you're working.
Yeah, I want to work with you on it too, though, because I think we can collaborate on some projects that would be really great because using the creative arts is a really wonderful way to access these kind of hidden secrets. Without being like, this is what you need to do, and you need to do this, and this,
right?
And
because
then your life will be okay.
You're just doing the same thing.
That the
you're just throwing the easy.
Yeah. So this is kind of my backdoor way of getting into people's head and fixing the problem is through creative expression. Yeah. So I think we could collaborate on a lot of really empowering kinds of projects.
I think so, and I really believe in the power of starting when people are children.
Yeah. My son's a feminist. He's 4.
Right. If you don't teach your sons and your daughters that this is never okay from birth, then you can't expect them to be offended later.
Right. Yeah.
And to unlearn a habit is... ask any smoker how hard it is to unlearn a habit that you learn by accident.
Yeah.
I know very few people who started smoking going, I'd really like to work up to 2-3 packs a day.
I want to be addicted.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
That's not how it happens. Yeah, and I'm going to be training to teach RAD.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I've got to teach RAD. They're actually doing a RAD class. It's totally full already.
That's awesome.
Like she books twice as many as she needs for to make up for attrition.
Right.
And so the campus safety is doing a rape aggression defense, which is awesome. So hopefully I'll have my babysitting situation secured.
Right.
Because it's 4 hours at a time, and that's a big chunk. But
yeah,
you want to make a war? I'll train the soldiers.
There you go. That's great. I married, I had this horrible situation. And then I married a feminist.
Yes.
And one of the first things he did, back when we were dating, and I was a very timid person. You become that way.
I can't even imagine.
Right. No one can. But you become very timid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you apologize a lot. And you know that
Yeah.
if you keep your head down, no one will notice you. And that was kind of where I was, 10 years ago. If I had accidentally interrupted something you were saying to tell you the building was on fire, I would have apologized and it would have been horrible for me. But I was really very timid, and when I met the man who's now my husband, he put me in self-defense, and he sent me on a survival weekend.
Yes,
and I learned to build
Take
a
care of
shelter with a
yourself.
pocket knife. And,
Wow.
Really,
Yeah.
I mean, a real like the Army Ranger survival course, right?
Yeah.
And I learned to fight with my bare hands, and I eventually became like I gained some small rank in empty hand kung fu fighting.
Score.
And I discovered I was a really horrible kickboxer. And
but knowing that stuff,
but knowing that
power.
I can take my two hands and defend myself to at least some rudimentary level.
It's sad that we need to know that,
but we do.
But we do.
We need to know that.
Yeah.
Most men know that.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Most men have been taught that.
They're indoctrinated from birth.
Right. As just part of the natural order of things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And most women are taught that you will screw up your manicure in that manner.
Because fingernails are so much more important.
Right. And, now...
I think of fingernails as DNA collection.
Right.
That's what, that's how I, because I've reframed my whole view on.
Right. So, it's something that I needed to know.
Yeah.
And it really changed my whole worldview. It was amazing what one man with a strong mother and a strong father who were partners.
Right.
Did to my whole family. It changed my whole family dynamic.
That's great.
The women in my family I had always thought of as strong. They were survivors. But they were just surviving.
Yeah. They weren't thriving.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so now I see that difference. And I don't want my daughter to be a survivor.
Right.
I want her to be a move forwarder.
Yeah. And I've met your husband. He's fabulous.
He's great. He's a hoot.
He's awesome. I was like, hey, you want to play our silly game, in our little event. He's like, hey, I'm here to work. What's up?
Yeah. Yeah, he's completely
I love
game
volunteers.
for anything. He's great.
Yeah.
But he's, taught me that marriage did not have to be a relationship of subservience.
That's great.
On either
partner. Yeah.
So, and his mother was very much responsible for me coming back to school, and
cool.
They're a great bunch of people.
Yeah.
I feel really lucky.
That's awesome.
I chose well.
Yeah, and what I love about that is that you recognize you can choose your family.
Right. Right.
I have a huge family of really wonderful people that I consider my family that I allow into my life that are my very good friends and people I trust that are my family, and no less family than my blood relation.
Maybe more so in a lot of ways.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah, because they're chosen.
Our family is very much a family of choice because we have 3 children, all of whom are mine. My husband is a great father. But he chose to be that.
Yeah.
He had the ability to say, I don't care for babies, but I really like kids. And things really worked out for us.
Yeah.
It's been great. My oldest son chooses to live at home when he could live on campus. Or, he's 19 years old, almost 20. He chooses our home because that's where he feels most compatible, most understood. And I'm really proud of that because at 19, there's no way I could have lived in my home of origin.
Yeah.
It couldn't have happened.
But I think that's a really good indicator that you're doing it right.
I feel right, and he went. This is my thing. You want to hear my success story?
Yeah. Tell me.
My 19-year-old son went all the way through high school, graduated with his class, and started immediately into college. That's all it took. That was like, at this point, whatever he does with that, is he's healthy, he's normal. You know,
what does that even mean? I don't even know.
It was something I shot for my whole life. I just wanted to be normal. I just wanted to be normal.
Yeah, I gave up knowing it was never going to happen.
Right, and there's no such thing as normal.
Well, there's that cycle on the washing machine, I think, and that's about it.
Yeah, it does say that, doesn't
normal.
What is that? I never know what mine's never on that because I'm sure that I don't have anything that qualifies.
Yeah. I'm going to mess up all my funky purple.
Right, normal. Okay, tie-dye. I'm going to need somebody to bring the polos and the khakis in now.
Yeah, because we don't, you know.
But yeah, my son is just, he's exactly what you want a college student to look like.
Yeah.
You know, in that ideal world that, you know, that doesn't exist.
He's traditional.
Wow. Kind of. He's still a commuter because he chooses to live at home.
Honey, 80% of ETSU campus are commuters.
But he goes to a non-commuter school. He's at King.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
But so he's kind of non-traditional in that, but he's there on an athletic scholarship, which means he has to work twice as hard as everyone else because, you know, if you're there on an academic scholarship, you have to be good at academics.
Yeah.
If you're there on an athletic scholarship, you have to be good at athletics and maintain academic scholarship standards.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody realizes that about our student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they really deserve more credit than they get.
Yeah.
You know, that's a tough life. I wouldn't have chosen to be a student athlete.
Oh, no.
I would have chosen to be an academic.
Not really athletic.
Well, you know, even in my most athletic of days, you know, I wouldn't have chosen that route because it's a double load.
Yeah. That's a lot of work.
If you make a C,
and you have to sweat.
If you make below a C average, they boot you out. Wow. We only require a B average of an academic student. Mm-hmm. So it really,
and they got to do that and excel. Be really good at sports, not just play.
Show up, but you have to excel at some athletic endeavor, and so
So that's pretty impressive.
That's my
that
success
he's doing
story.
That. The boy,
I feel like I've, you know, kind of like, of course, it's his doing,
right?
But I'm his mom,
right? So you totally get credit. Because if you get the blame for when they screw up, you got to get the credit.
18-year-old dropout who gave birth to him. You know? So therefore, I have succeeded wildly, beyond my furthest expectations, and the other two, you know, I have two smaller kids. They're on the same path.
Yay.
So it's really cool to watch the, you know, like my family of origin, we kind of had this path going this way, and I diverged from it.
Yeah.
You know.
And you're still doing great.
And yeah, it's working out. It's working out for me. I think that's the deal, is that it, you know, it's working out for me, and it can work out for anybody because I was abused, frightened, poor. I had children. I was a single parent. I had no real skills. I could have been stuck for the rest of my life waiting tables or some, you know.
Oh, honey, that takes skill, believe me.
Right. But, you know, and I was not a good waitress because I don't have that particular skill set.
Right.
You know, I could have been a clerk at a store. And that, you know, again, that takes a skill set. Yeah. But that was about it. You know, that's all I really had to offer. So I feel like I won, you know. I'm winning. Isn't that I'm winning.
Yeah.
Me and Charlie Sheen, you know, we're winning. Oh, no. I think I'm winning a little more successfully than he is, but whatever. I love pop culture references. It's just my favorite thing. Literary references are good too, but pop culture references, you know.
They're fun.
They are fun.
I find myself making pop culture references about the 80s.
I do too.
That none of my classmates and friends understand.
I was so gratified when the book, The Universe, what was it? Something about
Life, the Universe, and Everything After.
Yes.
Douglas Adams.
Because I've been making these jokes about this book for 20 years and people had quit getting them.
Right.
Yeah. My son's football number in junior high was 42 and I thought that was a riot. I'm like, look, he's the answer. And everyone around me was like, what?
No, I realized the other day that kids born when I was graduating can drink now. Right.
Right.
When I was graduating high school.
They sit in classes with me, okay? I'm going to London with 11 people the age of my child. It's legal to drink at 18 there.
Oh.
How do you say, honey, I don't think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
To someone who you literally mean that is not a good idea. I have seen it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't make me call your mother.
Because I will. You know I will.
We're friends.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of where it is for me. You know?
Yeah.
I'm, I have friends who are my children's friends now. But you feel a certain amount of responsibility for them.
Yeah, and it almost puts you on. It's not like I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking of Eddie Haskell from
right.
It's not like that. It's not like this. I'm going to pander to my friend's mom because you're in class with them and
you see
you're
them
on an equal
good,
footing
bad,
almost.
otherwise.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of interesting, and seeing where kids are, and then thinking of where I was when I was their age, and it's really not that much different.
It's not.
I think pop culture references.
Yeah, they
changed.
don't get those. But in the end, the things that are problems for a 19-year-old now were a problem when we were 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things that are scary they were scary for us too, and some of them still are
scary. Yeah. When I got to pay bills, what?
You and I both know that fart jokes were hilarious when we were 19, and in the right group of friends, they're still funny.
Right. My son gets in trouble all the time at school for having a potty mouth, and I'm like, listen, kid, you cannot say these things that we think are funny at home. You can't take that to school with you, man. I get in trouble. Yeah. You get in trouble.
That was a lesson that we had to sit down with each of our kids at some certain age and go, okay, look, there are words that you're going to hear bandied about among your friends. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you those are words you can never use. I'm an English major. I think all words are good.
Yeah, words are great.
But there are words that are situationally appropriate.
Right.
The F word is not situationally appropriate in most situations.
Right.
I didn't say it's never situationally appropriate.
Time and place, man.
Time and place.
Gotta
it's
know.
all about, there are places and times when certain things are hilariously funny that are just not going to fly in other places and times.
Yes. Absolutely.
And there are words that we use in one sense when grandma's around. And in another sense, when we're on the phone with our oldest friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a situationally appropriate issue. We worked on that with our kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's about time to.
They know now. They know that they can say what they want to among their friends. And that if I need to get into their phone and check their doings and go, because I do, I keep it real close. I bought all my kids' phones. Mm-hmm. They were the last ones in their class to get phones. And so I finally gave in because my kids don't have a computer because they can use mine if they really need one.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's appropriate to turn them loose with a computer.
Yeah.
But the phones we got them have internet access and they have texting and all this. So the deal was, if you have a Facebook page, I'm automatically your new best friend.
Right.
And I have access to your phone 24 hours a day. I say, hand it to me, please. And you give me all your codes, all your passwords. Everything is mine. Mm-hmm. And so, but they know, too, that when I go through it and I see where they're having a conversation with their friends and they're using language that's inappropriate for their mother, they weren't talking to their mother.
Right.
They were talking to their friends.
Right.
And so we have a don't ask, don't tell policy on that sort of thing. I see it there. And as long as this is not something that, as long as it's situationally appropriate, this is not something that's going to endanger your health, happiness, or well-being, none of my business.
Right.
Words are words.
You're a cool mom.
Not really. Not really, because, frankly, none of my children want to bring their special, their boyfriends or girlfriends to the house for the first time, because they invariably always come from very traditional families.
Oh, yeah.
And mom may say the wrong thing.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
I have an unfortunate habit of Irish punctuation.
Yeah.
sometimes I don't realize when I'm using inappropriate language. I try real hard, but I love words and they're all appropriate sometimes.
Sometimes, they wouldn't exist otherwise.
Right.
I mean, if they didn't have some.
Exactly. And I'm also highly emotive from a lifetime in theater. When I think something, it shows all over my face and then I announce it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I feel you on that one. I think that that does tend to be off-putting
right.
for the more sheltered among
right.
our children's friends. And
let's do that.
Thanks for joining us on Della. This is NTV, Non-Traditional Voices, your podcast program brought to you by Adult Commuter and Transfer Services here at ETSU. And today I've been talking to Natasha, and thank you so much for being here. I've had such a good time.
It's been great. It's been a long time.